I remember there was a time in my life when I would go for a small drive in my car around the corner, get some drive-through coffee, park up, and sit there listening to the Johnny Depp Amber Heard court case. Of course, it's low consciousness stuff. It's trash, it's gossip, and it's quite horrifying to see inside the lives of these toxic celebrities, and yet it was one of those shows that I couldn't look away from. It was one of those things that became my morning habit along with my coffee and very much my nicotine intake. For years and years, since my early 20s, I was smoking, often quite intensely, often quite a lot. And it was sort of on and off again, and I always hated myself for smoking, for becoming addicted to something so toxic, to something that made me feel so bad, something that was very much hurtful to my mind and body and soul. And yet for a long time, it was very much a part of my identity. It is who I was. It was the sort of person that I was to be a smoker. And I remember this particular period when I was listening to the Depp Heard case, drinking my morning coffee and putting on the nicotine patch. So I wasn't smoking as such, but I was having nicotine. And that combination, that rush, that feeling was so much a part of my morning routine, so much a part of my isolation, because of course at that time this was the COVID lockdown and we had strict laws about not being able to meet with other people, something that I think a lot of people still do not forgive the government for, and still the government has not been held accountable for. A gross violation of civil rights, a gross trespassing of the individual's freedom. But we don't need to go into that. What I'm trying to talk about is this feeling, this rush. And oftentimes it would bring tears to my eyes. Oftentimes it would bring that peak of, yes, I see so much about life. I see so much about who I am. I feel the multidimensionality of my mind and my heart and the tingling in my body. And of course, even at that time, I knew this is a ABC addiction cycle. This is very much, obviously, an addiction cycle. Now, I've been addicted to a number of things in my life. Of course, I've known the addiction of social media. I've had, at certain points, troubles with drinking alcohol. And I've certainly, at points, been very much addicted to the thrill-seeking life, the graffiti lifestyle, the graffiti artist, running from the cops, chasing trains, down on the track lines, up on billboards. The thrill-seeker complex is very much well known to me, and I had many close calls in my time as a graffiti artist. So addiction is very much part of my story, and I'm glad that I don't drink alcohol anymore. I'm glad that I don't have any hard addictions, and I'm glad that I don't smoke anymore. Nicotine is no longer a part of my journey. It's no longer a part of who I am, and it's not something that I am involved in. And yet I remember that I can't have this. I know that I can't have just one cigarette because that will open up a door to a new cycle. And how long it took me. It took so long to get off nicotine. Buying the patches, putting it on every morning, feeling the rush, and then reducing it an amount, reducing it down, doing half a patch, a quarter of a patch. Instead of doing it for 6 hours, doing it for 5 hours, 4 hours. It takes so long. I am just excruciated. I'm understanding of that struggle of nicotine addiction. Nicotine really is a horrifying addiction. And the stress as well. I can't believe how much stress and pain it caused, how much suffering it caused. And when it comes to coffee, there have been times in my life that I have not drunk coffee. There have been times in my life where I have had excessive coffee, and I've certainly had too much, and it has been a very strong addiction of mine. And it is very much, at times, a part of my personality, my identity. This is who I am. This is my routine. This is my snappy, happy, up-and-go-get-'em action, thinking, doing, feeling kind of attitude towards life. This is my personal routine. And of course, there is a pain in having coffee. There is the tension in the neck. There is the crash in the afternoon. There's the brain fog, the mugginess, the hurt, the cycle. The hurt of the cycle of the ups and downs. And that's not even anything to say of the inflammation of trying to process, trying to digest that much coffee. And I look at the times in my life when I was completely clean, when I would be on a meditation retreat or even doing my normal routine, and I was just super hyper aware, stone cold, clear, just the raw awareness. And I realized that I was so productive. I was incredibly productive during those times. And I really had myself. I really had more time as well. Amazing how time passes differently when caffeine is not involved. You may notice that when you have caffeine, time goes quickly for a short while, and then in the afternoon, time goes slowly. It might be that deadlines come up quickly, and you require a rush, a hurry, a fast-paced action to meet the deadline. Time passes in a number of different ways. And when I wasn't drinking coffee, when I was completely clear of caffeine, I could taste the expanse. So many times in the day when I could touch infinity, when I could feel the multidimensionality of the vast ancient cosmos. And that's not even to say anything about my face. I remember my face being very clear. I remember what my face could look like when my eyebrows are relaxed, when my cheeks are full, when I've got that spark in my eyes. Almost like when I've been in a meditation retreat or I've been in an awareness intensive. That's a bit of a tongue twister. In an awareness intensive for some time. My face looks differently. When I drink coffee, I have a bit of a snarl. I have a bit of a sadness in the eyes. I know that there's something that's not right. There's something present in my house which is not me when caffeine is here. And I know it's all over my face. I know people can see it. No one would ever comment, of course. It looks normal enough. But I know. That's the difference. I know. No one else would know. Probably not. But I know the difference. And so many times in my life, I've said to all sorts of addictions, whether it's smoking or drinking or graffiti or even caffeine, I've said to myself, this has to be the last time. I have to grow out of this. I have to be a bigger person. I've beaten myself up. I've held myself to a very high standard. Now I know this is a bit of a trick. I know you sort of can't be so serious about such things because the more you resist, the more it persists. What you resist persists, as that old chestnut says. And yet I know there's a higher form of living that I can be in. It's just beyond reach. It's just there. I can sense how my life would be when I am living in higher awareness. And I remember how it is. I have tasted it. I know what it is to live in higher awareness. And I know that I am called to step into that new alignment, a new balance, a new grounding, a new clarity every day, every moment. It is really hearing the call to live this life as the person that I came here to live as, the person that I came here to be, the being that I came here to be. So that's a little bit about what's going on for me today. And I hope you're well wherever you are, whoever's hearing this, sending good vibes and love out to the universe. All right, talk to you soon. Bye for now.